Okay, so hello everybody, it's APYS Talks, a series of interviews about the key insights of the blockchain industry. My name is Dmytro, I am the Chief Marketing Officer at APYSwap Foundation, and today we're going to talk about the stablecoins and their role in the future of finance. Our special guests here are Kila and Ben, core team members of Qi Dao protocol. Hello, guys. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Absolutely. No, thank you for inviting us.
Oh.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Nice. Okay, so let's switch to the conversation. And the first question is, today, more and more businesses start to use stablecoins as a method of payment to external vendors, instead of SWIFT payments. And what do you think about this trend? Will it continue, and could it actually kill SWIFT payments at all?
Yeah, maybe Kila, do you want to take this?
I mean, sure. I think one is, yes, the trend is happening, and for many reasons. When you think about speed, like speed of transaction, ease of transaction, everything along those lines, it just makes sense. I mean, nobody wants to jump through a bunch of different hoops in order to send somebody money. Nobody wants to have to wait for the money for too long. I mean, in the world of business, days really do count when you have money. If you want to make transactions, if you have vendors to pay, if you have employees to pay, you cannot wait. And so I think that what stable coins, or just crypto in general allows you to do is, send money very quickly, decentralized, and people get it within a few minutes, depending on the network that you're sending it on. So yeah, I mean, one thing is just exactly that. I think one of the reasons why many companies or many protocols are using stable coins instead of volatile tokens is exactly that. It's difficult to pay people or vendors or do business expenses in volatile tokens. If I'm paying for a service and I'm paying for it in something that's volatile, maybe today I'm paying like the exact price, but then by tomorrow, maybe I've overpaid. I'm not happy. Our vendor is very happy, but I'm not. Or in reverse, I paid today, tomorrow the token tanks. Our vendor's not happy, but I underpaid. So I'm happy. And same thing can go for employees and all that kind of stuff. So it really does make sense to try and have things on your balance sheet done in something that is stable. And then Ben, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I completely agree. From the business perspective as well, from personally, I mean, if somebody wanted to send you $20 million right now in crypto, it's super easy, very cheap, no questions asked, right? If you want to do that through a bank account, forget about it. Like, not only because of the cost, but like the regulatory aspect. If it's like cross-border, like if I want to send to I don't know, somebody in China money, or somebody in like Australia, forget about it. And like that much money, it'll take talk about seconds. No, it'll take weeks if you can do it.
Oh, who are you sending $20 million
to? No ways, I'm not sending that kind of money.
And what do you think about the competition from banks? Will they increase the pressure against cryptocurrencies as we see now, or they adapt the technology and start to use it by themselves?
Yeah, I think, and I know Ben's got his own theories on banking here. I think, of course, they're going to try and, they're going to try and push back. Anytime something is threatened, you're going to try and push back. And the type of power and everything that banks have, I mean, if I was a bank, I would be pushing back as well. But I think that's one of the issues, is that they have too much power. like within our entire lives, eventually they will have to, they'll have to adapt, because I mean, DeFi is not going anywhere, crypto's not going anywhere. They're going to have to adapt. But I think even when they do adapt, I mean, it is going to be like in a centralized way. And that is something that, at least at my core and at like Qi Dao's core, we are, DeFi natives. You know, we don't want any kind of centralized system controlling or handling our money. And then, I
Right.
mean, yeah, Ben, being from the banking world, please enlighten us here.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say about this one, because I just came from a bank. I was working at Citi, and uh, they're just not prepared. Like the way that like the whole banking system is like resting on the fact that they can control everybody's money, right? Because that's how they make money, because they can control your money and because it's all centralized. So to be able to adopt this kind of technology would mean like redefining how a bank works. But at the same time, it's like they're selling horses and we're selling cars, right? I mean, maybe not that many people know how to drive, but people are going to start learning how to drive and they're going to start buying our cars. So they better figure out how to like start selling cars if they want to stay afloat. I think if you think about it in the long term, because we're still pretty early in terms of adoption, in terms of like user experience, but I think if you're a smart bank, you're catching on.
Thank you, Benji, for such a beautiful adoption of Henry Ford metaphor regarding cars and horses. Okay, and the next question, there are like, why there are so many stablecoins on the market? Like not long time ago, we had like USDT and USDC who control the market, and why them is not enough. They why having those stable coins is not enough, and what do you think about it?
Right. I mean, there's huge demand. I mean, we're in an industry with a lot of volatility. So having some like base asset that you don't have to off ramp, like if you wanted to, sell your Bitcoin, for example, like you don't want to necessarily go back to dollars because that's defeating the purpose of DeFi altogether, right? So what can you do? Stable coins. But then you look at the stable coins that dominate the market, and you have what, USDT, which there's a lot of concerns about how it's backed. And then you have USDC, which they can blacklist you if they don't like you, which is the same problem we have with the dollar today. Like if the US doesn't like you, they can sanction you, they can freeze your assets, right? So with that in mind, there's a huge market for a lot of stable coins. Like, I mean, personally, we're not very pressured to see so many stable coins come out because there's just so much demand. There's so much need for new stable coins, and MakerDAO can't keep up with the necessity that there is, and in all the networks that you need it. So yeah, I think that's why there's so much, because there's so much of a need.
Yeah. I +1 to everything that Ben said. I think in terms of kind of the third big stablecoin DAI, fantastic. We love what Maker is doing, all the things that they've got going on. One thing that we saw was, that there is a need for something like that, but on a, network that may be, that is cheaper and easier for people to use. Right now, with if you want to mint DAI, you have to do it on mainnet, and it's very expensive.
Yeah.
It'll cost you, sometimes hundreds of dollars just to mint the DAI from your tokens. We saw that as an issue that needed to be solved if we want to try and get more and more people into this this DeFi world. And so that was one of the reasons why we felt like there was a need for something like that, but on a cheaper, more accessible network like Polygon.
Yeah, thank you. And like, not everybody knows of crypto users, but there are different types of stablecoins, like algorithmic, collateralized, etc. Could you please describe each one at least in short terms?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like a couple of buckets, right? There's like decentralized stable coins, there's algorithmic stable coins, and then you have the ones that are backed by collateral. And there's like different kinds of collateral you can back it by. So I guess we can describe all three. The first is decentralized, which is, there's dollars or assets in a bank account, like in a real like money, like fiat bank account. And that company then mints stable coins. The problem with that, obviously, is centralized, right? There's money in a bank account that can be, affected by the governments or, different like regulators. Not to mention that they can't scale, right? Because you have to constantly source money and put it in a bank account and just have it sit there, which is not very attractive to investors, whether debt or equity investors. Like they're not going to want that money sitting there. That takes us then to other kinds of stablecoins, more decentralized. You got the algorithmic stablecoins, which I don't think, maybe there's one like a successful algorithmic stablecoin. They're usually exploited a couple months after they launch because, I mean, they're still kind of centralized, right? We're talking about protocol controlled value. I think you could say they're more or less a success story. On Polygon, we definitely have a lot of history with algo stablecoins, with Iron Finance being the famous bank run. And then I guess we have the third kind of stablecoin, which is the collateral backed. And that just means that you have value that is locked on chain that can then be used to back the value of the stablecoin. And really, you can have that collateral be anything. I mean, you could have it be an NFT. You can have it be literally anything that can be sold in a market, which is where we fit in, right? We have tokens that you lock, and then you can mint on that value. Kila, did I leave anything out there? Feel free to fill in.
No, I think you said that very, very eloquently.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, and let's switch to the main question. I think you are eager to answer. Tell please us, what is Qi Dao? What does the company do? And what is like the background of it?
Sure. Do you want to take it, Kila, or should I?
Sure. At least I'll go ahead and give like the little elevator pitch for what Qi Dao is. Qi Dao, it really lets you use the value of your crypto without having to sell it. So it's really as simple as, if you've got some tokens that you don't want to sell, but you still want to use its value, you throw them into a vault, and then you can borrow up to 75% of that value, and you can do that at 0% interest. So what you're doing, you're throwing it in, you're taking out a loan. That loan is given to you in the form of stablecoin, our stablecoin MAI, and you can use MAI for whatever you like. You can use it to lever up your position. You can use it to farm. You can use it to pay bills. Whatever you really want to do, you can trade it for other. You can swap it for other tokens and diversify your portfolio. But that's really at the core, essentially, what we are trying to provide our users.
Yeah, I would add also, like, this is a concept that exists in traditional finance as well. Like, if you have high net worth individuals that have a lot of stocks in the stock market, they can approach a bank and the bank will lend them money and use the stocks as collateral. So then you can essentially spend the collateral. I mean, you can like sell your stocks without actually selling them. So that's tax advantageous, right? Because there's no capital gains event, right? So there's no like realization of capital gains. The problem though, right, in the real world TradFi world, it comes with a lot of interest, right? You're borrowing against these very volatile assets. So the bank's gonna charge you a pretty penny for them. Whereas in Qi Dao, since you're borrowing from yourself, there's no real reason that we should be charging you interest. So we don't charge interest on our loans. There is a small and like stable like cost, like a fee when you repay, 0.5%. But because the value of your debt doesn't move, no matter how long you hold this loan, it will always have the same cost.
Okay, so how your monetization is this fee, or there are also other mechanisms you use?
Yeah, so we have, I mean, in terms of like fee generation, we have two others. But in terms of like maintaining the peg, we have this thing called the Anchor, which is kind of the peg stability module, if you're familiar with MakerDAO, where you can deposit or trade directly with the protocol. So you give it 1 USDC, and then we will give you MAI at a fixed rate of $1 with a 1% fee. So what that essentially does, it creates a risk-free arbitrage opportunity for arbitragers to come in and arbitrage between $1.01 and 99 cents. So having that be the roof and the ceiling, sorry, the roof and the floor. um, but yeah, that's one other way that we make money as a protocol is through that 1% fee. And then finally, we charge a small, like a 0.5% fee when you deposit your LPs when you're farming.
If it's not a secret, how much liquidity does move every month, like through this Anchor?
Yeah, I mean, there's no secrets here. We publish like a weekly fundamentals review and we tell people everything. The Anchor, there's a lot of movement in Anchor, particularly, I think, Kila, it's been 10 weeks since we launched Anchor. And in terms of volume, I don't have the numbers. In terms of like a net trade, it's at least 100 million in net trade. So you could say it's at least double that in volume. Because it's like you go back and forth in order to arbitrage. So it's been pretty popular for arbitraging, and it's helped maintain our peg. Like we've gone through a lot of market downturns, and you know we've been able to stay strong.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a great driver for in terms of revenue that which we take that revenue and then we redistribute it back to our governance token holders. Qi.
Yeah,
Qi.
all revenue is owned by like these like token holders, and they voted to have 30% of that be given to them weekly. So if you lock your Qi, you can lock it between 1 week and 4 years. And you know, the longer you lock it, the more more share that you have. So like if you have one token and you lock it for 4 years, well, suddenly you have 4 tokens when we're calculating how much revenue to give you.
Nice. And Qi Dao is a decentralized service. How many validators, like, or governors do you have for now?
Yeah, so we're decentralized. We're a DAO. We don't have validators because the way it works is there's no like protocol controlled activity. It's all done through like users. Like if you want to make a loan, it's the user that interacts with the contract to deposit and their like tokens and then mint or borrow the stable coin. So there's not really anything that we need to validate from a protocol perspective.
Got it. Thank you. And let's come back a bit to the background, but not for now, not of the company, but could you please tell a bit about your personal backgrounds? How have you come to the blockchain industry?
Sure, I'll let Kila go first.
Yeah, sure thing. So my whole journey started really with hackathons. You know, when I was at university, I would travel around the United States visiting hackathons. You know, from East Coast to West Coast. Every weekend consisted on getting a flight, flying out with friends, going to a university or different venue, and just trying to build something that we thought was cool. And I love that concept. I fell in love with just the whole vibe and process of hackathons. And like even to this day, like my closet is full of hackathon T-shirts. I have hackathon stickers. I have hackathon swag, like just falling out of my closets. But anyways, yeah. I digress there. In around 2014, I went to Money 2020, which at the Money 2020 hackathon. And if people who aren't familiar with Money 2020, it's a like future of finance conference that they hold in Vegas every year. And so that was where I was really introduced to blockchain. There was a company called blockchain.com, and they had a challenge, which basically was like, yeah, do something with our API, do something cool with our API. And so when I was chatting with the booth reps and chatting with the employees, they were always talking about BTC. And when they started talking about BTC and everything along those lines, it kind of clicked in my brain, because the university I went to was the same university that the founder of Silk Road went to, and he had just gotten arrested like a year before. And so it was like there was a lot of hype on campus about Silk Road, BTC, that founder. So I just, when I heard BTC, I was like, okay, that's cool. Let's try and do something there. And so we did something there, but it wasn't really until the next year at Money 2020 where it really clicked for me. It was 2015, if I'm not, yeah, if it was next year, so it was 2015. And then every single booth that I would go to at like the main conference, not even the hackathon, people were talking about blockchain. Not every single booth, not like the big Visa booths or American Express booths, but a lot of the smaller booths, they were talking about blockchain and how it's going to be revolutionary, all that kind of stuff. And two thoughts came into my mind: either it's going to be really big, or this is like a huge scam, and they're just going to be like, like an what is the marketing? What is the pyramid schemes?
Multi-level marketing.
Yeah, MLM. Yeah. So it was like either one of those two things. But that's when I really kind of dived a little bit deeper into the blockchain space and kind of trying to learn a little bit more. And then after that, I started producing hackathons myself, with a team. And then from there, I produced a lot of different blockchain hackathons, and that's kind of where I met a really cool group of people, such as like Ben and Lau. And so, yeah, that's kind of how my journey with blockchain began.
Yeah, definitely a crypto OG for Kila here. Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty interested in crypto for a while now. I used to work in a different like non-EVM kind of chain. Did a project there more like facing like developers, kind of like those kind of tools. But my background's in banking, right? So I did banking at Citi for a little bit in between. So like I left crypto and I was like, you know what, let's do banking. Awful idea. I think, I mean, I'm a crypto anarchist, if Kila can attest to that. Like I think banks are going to be gone. So I had to leave. I had to go back to my roots. So yeah, I mean, I had known Kila and Lau and some other of the team members through like hackathons, and we all acknowledged the need for stable coins, and we saw Polygon really picking up, and we were fortunate enough to have some of these like early backers, including some of like the Polygon founders. So it was really all these things came up really fast and at the right time, and we were able to ride that initial wave that Polygon had. So yeah, it's the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, it was very interesting timing, because like we launched everything. The Polygon wave was really high. Everything was really, really great. And then I think 3 or 4 weeks right after, there was that Black Swan event. And so we were hit with just, prices completely dumping of everything. And so, we, through that, we've, been kind of battle tested, but it was a very interesting time to launch.
Yeah, huge uptake, and then a Black Swan event, and how the summer was. It was pretty crazy, but at Qi Dao, like all that we care about is that MAI is holding its peg. That's like number 1, 2, and 3 priority. So and it's held its peg, so that's been good.
That were really hard times. And by the way, do you think that like another crypto winter will come soon? Because the total market capitalization is approaching the previous all-time high, and could there be any like cycle again? What do you think about it?
I think it's hard to predict prices because we don't have an efficient market in crypto. So like it's not like information is disseminated correctly, and it's not like a lot of the actions are like rational actor actions. So it's impossible to tell like if we're gonna go down or up or what's gonna happen. What I can say is that like the TVL, like the money flowing into crypto, is increasing. The projects and innovation is increasing. So whether or not we cycle in terms of price, I think we're on the up end in terms of development and in terms of capital flowing into crypto.
Yeah. And then I'll just go ahead and make a point about the Qi Dao team is that, I mean, we don't even look at prices, kind of heads down, build out the features, prices go up, fantastic. If prices go down, it doesn't phase us at all when we're trying to build out innovative products for people to use.
Mm-hmm. As long as revenue keeps going up and users keeps going up, the real fundamentals is what matters.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay, and you have mentioned a bit how have you started with Polygon. Let's talk about the technological side. So why have you chosen Polygon over other blockchains?
Right. I mean, there are other choices when it comes to like L2s. Definitely it wasn't going to be Ethereum. I think there are a lot of people that started out on Ethereum early on, but at a certain point they got priced out. And in crypto, like one thing is reading about something and the other thing is actually using it. And I don't think you can understand a DeFi protocol until you actually use it. So we wanted to give kind of like all these people an option. So that's why it had to be layer 2. And then Polygon specifically, it's like a mix. At the time, we saw that all the right pieces were coming together, the right protocols were moving, and that was going to attract a lot of capital, as well as the team. Like if you ask anybody that knows the Polygon team, they'll tell you that they're exceptional. Very smart people with really good connections and a lot of help. Like I've worked in other networks that you don't get that kind of support. Like we have a chat with them and they give very specific advice, very good like strategy help, as well as like connections. So it's not like we'll retweet you and maybe like some tweets. No, it's like actual support. So that really influenced us, as well as the market like at the time. Like we said, we saw all these things coming together and we were we got fortunate that it was like a very good moment to launch and we were able to take that like market upswing with Polygon.
Okay.
And did you want to add anything?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I'll just take this moment to do another big shout out to the Polygon team. They are true mentors, true advisors. You'll share different ideas with them. They'll let you know where the holes are in your ideas. They'll let you know like, hey, there's somebody who just launched on Polygon that we think that you can partner with. And they'll make that introduction without us even asking, which is really a beautiful thing. And then them trying to pull in MAI anywhere that they can, like for example for bounties and hackathons and stuff like that. MAI is now like the official stable coin for their bounties and hackathons. They're a tremendous help.
Congratulations regarding hackathons. That's great. Okay, and let's come back to explanation a bit more about how Qi Dao works. So what tokens can I use as collateral by using Qi Dao?
Yeah. So we've got a few different ones that you can use. We started off with Matic as the native token of Polygon, the driving force of Polygon. But so right now you can use Matic, you can use Wrapped ETH, you can use Aave, you can use Link, Curve, and WB.
BTC. Yeah.
Another really unique thing though with Qi Dao is that you can also use Aave market tokens as collateral. So if you have tokens and you've deposited them into Aave, and they're generating yield, Aave will give you like a receipt token, an AM whatever, say an AM Matic, AM Wrap Matic. You can take that those Aave market tokens and use those as collateral in Qi Dao as well. So that means that your collateral that you'd be using now is yield bearing. So it's continuously growing. And then you again can take loans on Qi Dao at 0% interest. So it's you really have best of both worlds there. We try and play nice. We try and play nice with as many different protocols as we can. So we wanted to make sure that, if you are somebody who uses Aave, which Aave is fantastic, it's great. We wanted to still make sure that you could, we could play nicely together where you could create a strategy of using both Aave and Qi Dao.
Yeah, because like if you look at a lot of these lending protocols, people are not borrowing BTC. People are not borrowing ETH because like who would short them, right? What they're doing is they're depositing them, and like their utility rate is really low, and what they're actually borrowing is stable coins. But borrowing stable coins with variable rates is very expensive. Like I've seen on Polygon, it can get up to 17% APY, which is like ridiculous, right? But if you do it on Qi Dao, not only 0%, if you actually use these Aave market tokens as your collateral, it's actually -%, right? Because you're almost getting paid to take out these loans. Because while you have these like Aave market tokens on these our Qi Dao vaults, they're still accruing all the Aave rewards and all those APYs. So your collateral is growing at the same time that you're borrowing.
Nice.
Yeah. And then speaking of like negative interest rates, the community has passed a improvement proposal to start incentivizing vaults between a certain collateral to debt ratio. And so, in the very, very near future, we'll actually be rewarding people for borrowing. And again, now you're getting paid to borrow money at 0% interest, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so if we have -4% now for Matic vaults, imagine it can be much like you could be getting paid much more for borrowing.
Yeah, we are approaching the new fantastic world where you can be paid for taking loans.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Now, if you tell anybody, in the traditional finance world, they'll
I
tell
think
you
it's a
that.
scam. Yeah, because they don't understand,
Yeah.
They will do something
Exactly.
like that. I wanna kill you.
Yeah.
And then also just to add real quickly on the list of collaterals that we have, we're continuously trying to grow that list of collaterals. Like this week, we will have a improvement proposal go out to our Qi token holders to vote on if they want to see other collaterals coming in and what collaterals those would be. Like for example, Avagachi just got a Chainlink Oracle for Ghost. And so now, because it has a Chainlink Oracle, it's eligible to be a collateral on Qi Dao. And yeah, so we'll have the community vote and see if they want, for example, Ghost or DPI or anything else that has a Chainlink Oracle to be added to that list of collaterals.
That's so interesting that the system is decentralized, and as I understand, most of the decisions are made by the community, right? So actually, you could even don't know what tokens you will add next as a collateral. Yeah, that's.
We have no idea. Like we work with these tokens to like strike out partnerships. For example, Ghost might be incentivizing our vaults with friends tokens, for example. But yeah, I mean, all we can do is set it up as well as we can, and then the community can vote. Hopefully soon we'll have LPs as collateral. How that it's implemented is still yet to be decided, but that's something else that we're looking into.
Yeah. No, I mean, having the community vote on things like, yeah, like you said, sometimes you don't know what is actually going to be, what's going to happen. So it's like terrifying but freeing at the same time. You know, like we don't know which collaterals are coming, but it's really cool that you know everybody is making the decision, because everybody really does have this vested interest in seeing it. Everybody who's deciding has a vested interest in seeing it succeed.
It remembered me, those candies in Harry Potter when each one had a unique taste. So the same thing with token. Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
How many people do you have in your development team, like technical?
We
Yeah, so we have
have
three,
yeah.
like three core devs, but when it comes to that, we also look at trying to put out bounties for the community to try and help support different things that we're trying to accomplish.
Nice.
And
Okay,
the community has been fantastic.
Yeah. I believe there's those developers have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Because you're like very active publicly, so that's really interesting. Okay, let's imagine that I have become your user. I collateralized some Matic and received MAI. Where can I use it? Like, what platforms do accept it for now?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, you can go and farm with it. You can farm with it on our site. You can farm with it on QuickSwap. There's quite a few different farms that accept MAI or have pools that are incentivizing MAI. There are also a few lending protocols like Unilend that you can use.
Imprimax.
Yeah, you can use MAI on Imprimax as well. I mean, also thing is because it's a stable coin and there's a lot of liquidity for it. You know, if you wanted to trade it for USDC, or if you wanted to trade it for something else, you can do that almost anywhere.
Yeah, essentially, like you could either lever or you can even diversify your portfolio without spending any more money. But to be honest, Kila, my recent favorite thing is actually bridging. Because I like Polygon, I'm a Polygon boy, so I want to keep the value in Polygon, but I've seen some cool opportunities outside to farm. For example, we recently did a partnership with Saber on Solana, where you can mint MAI on Polygon, bridge it over through Allbridge, um, and then get some pretty sweet APY on their stable coin. And it's really nice. I mean, like the whole experience, like on Allbridge is just like 25 cents. No matter how much I can transfer $5,000, 25 cents. Super fast. The UI is super nice. Then you go to Saber and you can, provide this liquidity. I think in 24 hours we got, what was it, Kila? 17 million in liquidity.
Yeah, close.
And then there's this like app aggregator called Sunny, I think, on Solana, who's now giving rewards on top. So this like Solana partnership has been pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could not be more grateful to Saber and then Allbridge as well for helping a Polygon native project kind of test the waters over on Solana.
Because at the end of the day, like the future is multi-chain. And if you have people like Allbridge that are making those like connections, I think long term is going to be very important.
Yeah. I mean, I think also the thing is like if we were going to try and do it, I mean, ourselves or without as many partners or whatnot, I mean, it would, we would not have had that success over the last, couple of hours that that it was live. So really, yeah, thank you to our partners.
Thank you for sharing such a precious feedback. Like my friend once said, your words are like warm cappuccino that is poured into my heart.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Okay. Let's come back to guys. We have spent 40 minutes, but if you have time, do we have time to finish? Like,
Yeah, we have time.
nice. Okay, so let's come back to discussing Qi Dao. Let's imagine a situation. I collateralized, for example, $300 worth of Matic tokens to receive 200 MAI. And then the price of Matic falls dramatically, for example. What happens in this case? Do I or Qi Dao lose money? And how do you prevent your money losses in such cases?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, I mean, prices of collaterals like go up and down, and if you're locking up tokens, right, and borrowing against them, that essentially means that you have a long position on that token, right? So you believe it's going to go up, but maybe, I mean, maybe you're wrong and maybe it goes down, or maybe, you know, crazy things happen. And we don't want to make it so that like when you're wrong, like the whole world ends, right? And you lose all your collateral. We want to create a protocol that's like made for people that are learning or made for people that want to get into DeFi. Because in Polygon, you have a lot of people that are first timers, right? Because it's so cheap that a lot of people that before didn't have the money to be on Ethereum are now on Polygon. But I digress. Like basically, the solution we come up with is partial liquidations. So when that goes down and you go below the minimum liquidation ratio, what happens is a liquidator comes in and they repay half of your debt, and then they take collateral to compensate themselves for having paid half of your debt, plus a 10% bonus. Now, if you account for now you not having to pay your debt, but then also losing some of your collateral, the loss that you incur is only like 4%. So it's not like a huge cut if you were to become under collateralized, but then it's also a penalty to motivate you to make the right decisions.
And it's also a penalty to help motivate liquidators to come in and liquidate and make sure that our protocol remains healthy and that, you know, MAI is always over collateralized.
Right, and anybody can liquidate as long as you have MAI stablecoin, you can liquidate, and you know the returns are pretty nice. Like if you do one liquidation, that's 10% right there. If there is a market downturn, you have like the possibility of a lot of upside. If you think about how many liquidations you can do, and yeah, and they're pretty efficient. Usually, like within a second, like less than a second, it's kind of crazy. Of like somebody going under collateralized, it's already been liquidated. They're already back to a safe collateral to debt ratio, and you know everybody's good with their money.
Yeah, we've had a lot of users, you know, generate some bots to help speed up the process of liquidation.
Yeah.
Which has been great for us. Because one of the things that we were looking at the beginning is a stability pool, which is still in the, you know, still kind of in the roadmap. But the fact that we've had such efficient liquidators means that, you know,
It's not a necessity.
It's not a necessity. We can take our dev resources and use them elsewhere, and then eventually get to that stability pool.
Such a well thought scheme. I'm fascinated. Okay, and a bit frank question: how users of Qi Dao could be sure that your company, that using services of your company is safe?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there's always risks when you are interacting with like any protocol, right? So whether it be contract risk, like actually like the tech is coded incorrectly, or also like the economics, right? We've seen a lot of exploits recently, not been a problem with the code precisely, but like more with like how the economics works. Now the way that we can mitigate some of those risks is, for example, we've been audited. When we started, we were audited by Brahma Systems, and right now we're undergoing another very pretty extensive audit, right, Kila? by Cloakwire. They're pretty thorough. So audits is one way. Another thing is our economics part, right? Both my background's in banking, Kila's is in math and physics. So we've done a lot of work to model out different scenarios and make sure that on the economic side, we're safe from exploits. Of course, you have to do your own research, make sure it makes sense for you. But we've done those things to make sure that we can lower the risk as much as possible.
Okay, nice. And you mentioned some companies that conducted audits. Could you please also list like who are your key partners and what functions they execute for Qi Dao?
Yeah, I mean, we have partners, different kinds of partners, right? I think our first partner is Polygon for sure, because a lot of our early backers were founders of Polygon or core team members of Polygon. We also have some other pretty interesting early backers, which I call them partners as well, right? Because they help us with what we do. For example, Bobby Goodlad, I think is a great example of somebody that's a partner. So he's one of like the first investors into Coinbase, and he's been pretty helpful as well. In terms of like companies, like outside of that, right? We have, of course, Aave, right? We use their Aave market tokens in order to mint MAI and have a great relationship with them. They're very open to working with us. But yeah, I mean, Kila, do you have other examples?
I mean, DeFi Pulse, like DeFi Pulse, great.
Oh yeah, their whole team.
Great
nice.
partners. Yeah, great team. I mean, always giving support and advice. You know, we've got, I mean, Balancer, CoinGecko. Yeah, I mean, Balancer has been fantastic. As soon as Balancer opened up on Polygon, you know, we reached out and struck up a partnership, and they've been fantastic through the entire, throughout the entire process. QuickSwap, we just went through a whole process of deciding which AMM we would be using to incentivize our pairs on Polygon. And QuickSwap has, been a fantastic partner in that.
They doubled their rewards.
Yeah, they doubled their rewards plus, plus a bunch of other things. As you heard, Ben mention Ghost and Avagache. We've got partnerships coming there. We really believe in, like the strength of an ecosystem comes from like partnerships and composability and all that kind of good stuff. So that's one of our core focuses here at Qi Dao.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to like list them out. Like a lot of me and Kila's day is spent like talking to other protocols and figuring out how we can make the Legos work. So it's just like a lot of partnerships. That's basically a lot of what we do.
Yes, what I'm really fascinated in the blockchain industry is its interconnectedness, because to be successful, you have to be connected, and partnerships work here very well. I think like it makes the whole world stronger and more connected. And we discussed partners, and let's look from the other side. Who are your key competitors, as you think, and why are you better?
Yeah, I think it's hard to pick direct competitors, right? Because we're not so much a stablecoin or so much a lending platform. We're kind of like a mix, I'd say. So I mean, if you think about competitors from like a stablecoin perspective, I think our only real competitor right now is liquidity, right? In terms of being able to lock up your stablecoin, I mean your collateral and then borrow, but they only take. I mean, I don't want to go into specifics about them because I'm not here to talk bad about other projects. But I think we've done a lot of things to differentiate ourselves. First of all, being more of a lending platform, right? Having all these different markets that people can tap into. And then comes like the lending platforms, right? So if we're a lending platform that offers you 0% loans, you have to think, of course, we're going to be competing against the lending platforms. But I think what we've done is not an us versus them. but an us and them kind of solution with Aave, for example, because you can still borrow an Aave if you want to, but there are some cases where, for example, if you want to borrow a stablecoin instead of borrowing a token to short it, right? Or if you want to borrow long term, then it would be better to use us than Aave. But then there are other options or other like scenarios in which it would be better. So I think that's kind of like an overview of our competition on Polygon. Kila, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
Yeah, I think some of our competitive like advantages just within the space of lending and stablecoins, like one, a stablecoin is pretty solid when it comes to the peg. It's maintained peg really well, so we don't really have to like think too much about that being an issue. Yield bearing assets or yield bearing collateral is another really big one. If you're talking about being capital efficient, all that kind of stuff, if you can use yield bearing assets as collateral, well, then there you go. That's pretty cool. We also just recently lowered we depends on how you want to do it. We lowered our liquidation ratio, which means we have a higher loan to value ratio. So people can now borrow more against the collaterals than they were beforehand. And I think again, also just the partnerships give us a pretty unique
Right.
advantage as well. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like think about, for example, I think a huge one was Polygon, right? The fact that we're basically their official stable coin for bounties and hackathons, I think was a huge vote of confidence. I guess compared to other, because there's been a lot of failed attempts to make stable coins on Polygon. So having that kind of support has meant a lot.
and I will say this, and I know it's going to sound corny, but it's like legit. I think our community is also a freaking huge advantage. We have one of the best communities that I've seen in the DeFi space. Very educated, very helpful communities. They will help us out with whatever we need help with. They will take on things that we don't even ask for, but they know will help the protocol. They think of different strategies for us to use, think of different marketing things for us to use. I think having that additional kind of brain share and just the sheer fact that we have an army behind us, I think
Right.
is a huge, yeah, a huge advantage for us.
Such a good metaphor regarding the community, because another one came into my mind. We could perceive blockchain industry and like centralized finances industry like David and Goliath, and because of that, because blockchain industry is relatively small comparing to the traditional finances, community here is very strong, and I'm really amazed by how people help each other. And it's also, like from marketing point of view, it really, if you provide value and if you invest into your community, it really gives you a lot. So
Right.
yeah.
100%. That's beautiful. Yeah. And I will say, I guess another quick advantage. I think MAI is like the first Polygon native stable coin to bridge over to like Solana and kind of have, that exposure over there,
I mean, we're the
which
first native stablecoin, period.
yeah, and we are the first native stablecoin on Polygon. That's another advantage. But yeah, being able to bridge over and test the waters over there and understand how other chains may may help our benefit. The Qi Dao ecosystem. I think that's been a really strong advantage for us as well.
Yeah, and I I know just like one more thing on that. I don't want to like make it too long of an answer, but in terms of competition, like we're really competing with TradFi, right?
Yeah.
Like where are we really sourcing the money, right? Like it's from bank accounts, right? For getting on chain. So there can be a bunch of stable coins, a crap ton of lending platforms. Because at the end of the day, we're facing a system that's broken, a system that hasn't really worked for people for a long time. So it's like a kid in a candy store, and our job is to just like give the kid a bunch of candy, because like we have it all, and like TradFi has nothing. So that's really our competition.
After everything you told about your company, I just want to repeat that guy from Futurama, like, shut up and take my money. Okay, guys, the last three questions, they are like more global. Let's speak a bit into the future of Qi Dao, what your roadmap looks like, what do you expect to implement? At least this part where you control, not controlled by community only.
Well, see, that's funny because like we don't have a published like roadmap, a long-term roadmap, and that's exactly because of the fact that we're a DAO, right? It would be weird if we kind of said, you know, this is what we're doing. By the way, you can vote on it, right? That being said, we do have like more of like a medium-term roadmap of things that we have discussed with the community, things that kind of are generally accepted through the conversations we've had. Like I said, I mentioned the LPs as collateral in whatever way that might be implemented, kind of like the incentives, and as well as of our expansion, right? As we begin to solidify our core product and what it is that we do, we're going to be seeing a lot of protocol to protocol interactions. Some of that's going to be this like cross-chain like partnerships, but as well as other kind of interoperability opportunities that we've seen in Polygon that are going to be involving, I guess, like larger integrations between protocols. And I think that's something that I'm very excited about.
Okay, and yeah, Kila?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say like that. I think that summed it up on my end as well.
Okay, and let's continue this question even to, you know, like more global perspective. Could you please share what is your like personal mission in life as you feel it now, because I think it changes over time, and how it is interconnected with the global mission of Qi Dao company?
Yeah, wow, that's a great question, and it's one that really makes you think. And like you said, it definitely changes over time. I think you know, if you would ask me a year ago, my answer would completely be different. You know, for me, after being in the space for a while and seeing like the amount of change that is like is really available and that you can have within the DeFi space. I mean, I have friends that couldn't get a job after university, everything like that. You know, threw some money into the DeFi space, and it really did change their life. Also, I'm half Egyptian and everything along those lines. And so Egypt, it's not the most advanced country. A lot of people still are unbanked or underbanked and all that kind of stuff. Um, you know, I would love to be able to see like a world where anyone really does have these financial services that have mostly just been reserved for like the Western world or for the people who actually have money. I think that, like, you know, if I can play even a little piece or a little part of that, you know, helping that come to fruition, you know, I'd say I'd be happy there.
Yeah, I think that's like a behemoth of a problem that we have, and we're very far, very, very far from solving that as a crypto community. Like I think we're close to having most of these tools, but in terms of adoption, we're very far from where we need to be, especially because in order to interact with all these things, you know, you have to have a lot of like technology, a lot of education. Things that are lacking in the places that are underbanked, right? Which is one of the very reasons they're underbanked in the first place. But coming back to your question of like, my goal. I think I always think about value and like creating value. Like, are you just like making money, or are you just making a circular system, or are I actually making something that wasn't there before? And so that's something that motivates me, like being able to make things better. Now, how that ties into our Qi Dao general system, I think there are other protocols that are similar to us. There are other like solutions that are kind of what we do, but our focus is making our protocol accessible, and that takes different kind of like materializations. Like, for example, our docs are very easy to read. Like, they've gone through a lot of vetting and a lot of like, versions. All of our written content is supposed to be accessible to anybody, regardless of their technical expertise. And then there's like the actual protocol itself, like how it's architected. There's no minimum like debt like amounts that you need to take, right? The fees on our protocol, which is Polygon, or on our network, which is Polygon, are very, very low, right? And that's designed to make it so that anybody could use our protocol if they wanted to. We've even connected with Transact, for example. So now you can on-ramp directly on our website. Just really like increasing the flexibility and like decreasing any friction there is, whether it's because of money or because of like skill. And I think there's like a lot of value creation in that.
Thank you for sharing like your personal thoughts and feelings. That really resonates with my own values. By the way, I just got an idea. You told about the role of banks in getting education, like in the Western world, which is really quite expensive. And I'm looking forward for for a blockchain company which will provide tuition loans for education. I believe it will be in the nearest future.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Tuition loans, like tuition loans, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's another thing. I don't know how it works where you're based, but at least in the States, it is like a horrible system.
Yes.
Like, it is as broken as it could possibly be. So yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of like, the problem with crypto is like how many people accept it. Like, you can have an incredible system, but like we just need more people to adopt it.
Yeah.
Like, if businesses can pay their bills in crypto, then they're willing to accept it in crypto, right? If not, you're just going to have super large companies that will accept it just to accept it because of a marketing play, but not really because they're going to pay their operational costs, right, in crypto.
Yeah, I don't remember which company it was, but like a month ago, some company in the USA started to accept mortgage payments in crypto. So,
well, you gotta send me the link.
Yeah, I will send if I find it. I think yeah. Okay, and the last question. Also philosophical a bit, and about the society. So Qi Dao is community governed. We discussed it, and you explained how it works. And I'm interested in your opinion as for the real world decentralized autonomous organizations. How do you think what current centralized social institutes could become community governed due to the blockchain revolution, and if they ever become such, like tax system or education, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, even if this whole crypto thing like goes to crap tomorrow, like I think the biggest thing for me to pull out from this experiment is DAOs, right? How can we organize people in a decentralized way, and how can we incentivize people correctly and like kind of distribute the value creation? And like for companies, it makes most sense. Like, they try to do that with stocks, right? It was supposed to be that way that people can vote and that people can share in the revenue. Obviously, that's not what ended up happening. So I think that's probably companies would stand to gain. But I think what's really interesting is countries. Like, we think of countries as this like organizations that we have to be loyal to, that we have to pay taxes to, regardless of how they are managed. But what if we treated companies like we treat protocols, where you judge them based on the incentives or you judge them based on how they're run, and then you choose to put your money in the protocol or the country that you think will manage your liquidity the best. And I think if we can start doing that, then the countries are going to be incentivized to start treating their people better.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful, Ben. And I think we'll probably start seeing smaller countries do this first. We were just talking to Gnosis Safes a few weeks back, and they were mentioning how they're talking to a few different countries, or one country or a few, about how how they can start implementing like Gnosis Safes to help with with governance. So yeah, I think we'll start to see a few experiments with smaller countries first, and hopefully the world that Ben just described is something that we can see within this lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of pushback. I mean, look at what's happening to El Salvador with the US bullying them and these like larger organizations bullying them. Because at the end of the day, all these people are just intermediaries. The IMF they're already obsolete. It's just a matter of time before they're replaced. So when you have countries actually adopting blockchain, they're very scared because they know deep down that they're not needed. And so yeah, we're gonna have this decentralization, and I think it's gonna benefit a lot because if you're not from, the US, if you're not from China, from Russia, maybe the larger European countries, your country doesn't really have a say in the international world, and especially if you use the dollar, you're kind of screwed, right? Because you have to play by other people's rules. But the second that we start implementing crypto in these other countries, you're gonna start seeing real democratization of like international power, because the power is where the money is and who can control it. So that's something that I'm very excited about.
100% totally agree. Guys, the interview is even more insightful than I expected. Thank you so much. Kila, Benjamin, thank you for sharing your experience and explaining the core features of Qi Dao. Okay, and thank you, dear blockchainians, our audience, for watching this interview. If you have thoughts or questions on topics discussed, please share them in the comments below. Guys, maybe you want to add something?
No, thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here and also really happy to be partnering with you on the other end as well.
Nice. Yeah, I think for me, if you liked what you heard, just go and check out MAI.finance, MAI.finance. Check out the protocol. See what you think. If you have any questions, concerns, if you need any help, or if you just want to join the community, hop into our Discord. Our community is fantastic. Me and Ben were always there as well. Feel free to tag us in something. We look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, it's almost like crypto university. Like we'll have AMAs, we'll have fireside chats, discussions. It's very good for learning as well.
Nice. We will leave the links below. Okay, so stay tuned for the next APYS Talks. Subscribe to our channel and push the like button. See you soon.
Thank you.